Hi and welcome to this week's video. Didn't quite meet all my targets, but got an awful long way. All the lower geodetic is in, partial on the upper geodetic. We can only go so far because of the support ribs needing to be jigged to fit. Talking about those, they've all been dressed. You'll see that in the video. I've started looking a little bit at the step, but not really done anything there. And we've got stiffness on most of the ribs except for the port-in board. So join me in the video. So here I have the upper stiffener fitted, lower stiffener fitted, and we've got the geodetic going across the majority of the wing. We just literally got two pieces to put in at the end here in this direction, then we've got to go back and do the other direction. But I can't put this sections in here until I put the doubler onto this side here, and I'll show you hopefully how I get it to match on the grounds that this rib here is canted over that way by 3 degrees. Here is the inner rib stiffener. As you can see, it's making contact here. As we go forward, we get a gap, and then it starts to close up again as we get to the very front. And if we look at the very front, it's touching again. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set up for that much gap and come back up here and mark that line, so it's going to be outset by 2 or 3 millimeters, I suppose, out at each end, parallel with the rib, and then I'll just plane that off with a standard small box plane. So there's the line marked up. You can sort of see it goes to nothing, and it starts to build up a little bit as we get towards the front. As easy as that, a few shavings are created. I'll do the same to the other end. There we have it, nice even joint all the way up to the top end. Just need to cut off the excess there. I've marked up where the trailing edge piece will go, so I'm just going to cut the section off there. I'll mark that, get that sorted, and we can glue this baby in. So I've got the stiffener on the port wing. The stiffener on the starboard wing has been completed and glued up, and I've put the last couple of pieces of geodetic in that's going that way across the bottom, and I've started at this end here to put the geodetic going in the opposite direction. So effectively half the wing has got both directions of lower geodetic in position, ready, glued and curing. So next step is to finish off the bottom on this wing going across, and to start doing the last couple of pieces of geodetic going that way on that wing, port wing, and we'll start working from the end there back as the clamps go until we run out of clamps going in the opposite direction. So it's starting to become a more rigid box structure, looking far more structurally sound. It'll be even better when we get the top geodetic in, which okay, so I'm about to create a master rib or part rib, ply ones for the aileron pivots. It's going to be the same at both ends of the wing, both ends of the aileron. All my ribs are as near as you can say identical, so I'm going to mark this one, sand it and shape it, and then check it against the others to make sure that it's conforms on all the rib positions it's going to go onto, and then from this one I'll be able to make up or if it works, I'll be able to make up a jig to do all the others for drilling. So to start off with, I'll get a couple of strong clamps. I'll just clamp that into position. The top edge here seems to match up very well, so we'll see what the bottom's like. So with that clamped, it feels smooth. Clamp it here as well. No gaps at the front edge. A small amount just needs to come off here, just in that area there. So I'll just mark that just a little bit, just to get rid of that. Let's have a look underneath. Ah, yes, there's a bit more that needs to come off underneath. Doesn't quite make it to the very, very bottom of the rib at the front edge there. So when we've built this, we've put the stiffener, or the wide section that goes along here, into place. I'll have to put a little bit of bulking agent just to bring that back up to the right height, I think. And back here, there's wood that needs to come off. So I suppose this is a disadvantage of a kit where it's been cut to just a size, and with no spare, or in this case looking at probably 1/32 of an inch for the first couple of inches, and then it goes flush from there on. So, well, actually no, it's back to here, so it's back to about there. So what's that, about 4 inches. So there will be a little bit of gap filling there. Not ideal, but I can do that in the same method as I did the doublers, the stiffeners over here, with a piece of wood going across to make sure that stiffener going along the side there conforms with the rib, and then I can just put a little bit of micro balloon or something like that into there, just to bring that back up to the perfect height. So I've got that one. What I'll do is I'll check with the other ribs and just make sure that they're all the same, and then we'll be able to go from there. As you can sort of see, there's a sort of about 1/32 to 1/16 of an inch, just over a 1/16 of an inch just needs to be taken off there, and we'll take that very tip off, marked up with its up, and we'll call this one starboard inner. Having checked the plywood ribs for the hinges at each of the points along the trailing edge of the aircraft, the top section matched all the way through, with that little bit of a gap in certain places. When I put the ribs against each other, all the tops match, so that's good. That bit was great. The bottom face though is different from one rib to the other, so when they were machined, cut out, I don't know whether it was done on CNC or whether it was done from a template, there's some differences between them on what I've made the lower edge. So the top edges all conform with the ribs nicely all the way down. The bottom edges don't quite do that. It's not a great problem, except for when I come to make the jig. I was hoping to make the jig so as it fitted in two sides and the end, both sides and the end, to lock it firmly in place. As it is, I can use the top face as a datum, and the front face where it goes against the spar as a datum for setting up my drilling jig for drilling the holes so that they're all identical for the actual hinges. I suppose a minor difference wouldn't really make a huge amount of effect, but I like things to be as good as I can get it, so they're the two faces I can set a datum up on. Where it protruded from the rib, I've dressed it back. Just a minor thing. I suppose it's what you get with a kit aircraft. Their jig they've used for cutting these out, or the CNC system that they have, went by their drawing, and everybody's jig's very slightly different, so it might have been nice if they'd put a little bit, left a little bit there for somebody to dress back to the actual rib. We've got sunlight, it's not usual this. This corner here, top and bottom on the outboard ribs will just need to be rounded. Now on this rib we've got a doubler going up. There'll be a gap I'll fill with capping strip, but I'll round the doubler up so that we don't have something on the covering. I'll take the that doubler so it just protrudes to the front edge of the spar just there. I was asked by a visitor what the black mat is that I've got here. It's for seedling heater mat. It goes under a propagation tray. It just raises the temperature by about 10 degrees centigrade. So I'm using it to keep my T88 glue a little bit warm, but I've got to say there are some nicer systems for doing that. Dennis Tyson with his Minimax build. I'll put a link at the end of the video for his channel and for the video on his heater box which he made up for keeping his glue, or getting his glue up to temperature, which is really quite a nice setup. So I'm flicking backwards and forwards a little bit on some of the work I'm doing, carrying on doing sort of geodetic, but also doing some, well, I'm using up all the clamps in that area. I'm doing some other work and setting things up ready to go forward. So here I've got one of the tip ribs in place. I've got some of the W8 material, the same as we use for the stiffeners. It's used to go along as the false spar. So what I've done is I've just put it into position, the rib into position, using this to gauge the thickness or the gap. Clamped it with 2 G clamps, so you can sort of see, put a piece in and marked off, so I can now set up the table saw, hopefully just to remove that little bit of wood on there. It'll help save a bit of planing, and it's actually got more to come off on the bottom here. On the table saw I'm going to make up 4 upper false spars, 2 for this wing and 2 for the upper wing, and 4 lower ones. Words of warning, right, don't just go and cut the whole strip at that angle. If you're going from the kit, only cut to the length you need. You're going to cut it off, that's for the lower wings. Upper wing, of course, just over a foot longer, because you need these 4 strips, which is the sort of left over from the lower wing false spars, to make up the bit which is going to close out the wing here. So you need that. There's just enough for that. The bits of wood from the upper wing, the spare bits there, can be used for making up the doublers for these ribs here, and for the rib doublers for the top wing, and there's enough, there's a whole length left over as well, so we should have enough to do the 4 end ribs, upper and lower doublers from the leftovers. Well, as you've probably just seen, if the video work came out okay, I have the table saw out. It's a little bit of a chore. I've got to take the top off here, get the good lady wife to give me a hand to drag it out. So I did the triangular sections which we need to support the plywood aileron mounting ribs, aileron hinge mounting ribs. So I needed some of that. As I said, wasn't supplied effectively in the kit. Didn't tell me what wood to cut it from. As there isn't an awful lot of excess wood in the kit, what I used was some nice grade pine which I had around. It's got a really good grain count on it, so I've used that. Cut that into a triangle, 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch. Job to do, job done. Did the false leading edge strips as well while I was about it, just to save that little bit of effort, and I think I showed you how I got the shape for going in behind those little nose ribs. I checked it out on more than one nose rib to make sure that was consistent. Okay, so I thought I'd show you my little method of getting around in here, making sure I've got this bit right. I'm just putting it straight across here, and I'll draw my line. That'll give me the angle I'm going to cut this section off to here. Then comes the trick. So there's that cut to its angle. That should sit in there nicely. But if I was to do the same at the top here, it would be too wide. So if I just use a piece of the same wood as it went there, I can lay that piece on top, like that. Mark my line. Now that line has been set up effectively by that much, so it should, when I cut it, fit. Okay, so let's see if it fits. A little bit of wobble about it just at the top and bottom. That's probably just a little bit of glue residue there, which I won't be able to get out, so if I just take off the very back corner here, especially at the top, just rounding that edge a bit there. That should hopefully make all the difference. There we go, perfect fit. Right, I've got the triangular piece bonded in there with a piece of wood. I'll show you on this side there, just holding this dead straight so that we've got the datum for the ply rib that's going to come out here. I'll be able to actually put a square against that and across here to make sure this rib is straight, because I can sort of see it's got flex in it, it's very lightweight. As you see, I've got all the triangular sections all cut ready to go for all the various stations according to the plans. So here we are with the plan. So here's the detail for the inboard end of the aileron with the ply support rib. You can see there's two triangular pieces put in. I'll put this one in first because I can use that as a datum there to make sure that's square. And on the outboard end, the detail for this part here is shown here. We've got that triangular piece there bonded in, as you've seen. The next one will go in will be this one here, and that way I can now use the tip as a datum to make sure this is all square when I bond in the rib there. With that all cured, and with that piece there can then go in to position, and we'll be laughing, he says, hopefully. Here's the rib stiffener for the starboard wing. We've got to have the walkway panel going across, so I've left it so it can be supported here, but I'm just using the short section which has now been bonded. We're ready to go there. I've got to do this side, which will be the full length right the way to the far end there, similarly to how we did the bottom ones, but I think that'll have to wait till next week. I'm sort of rather run out of week. Well, that's it for this week. Just finished off putting the partial top geodetic in on the port wing. One piece on that direction is left out because of the I want to keep things clear for the aileron support ribs, so I can actually clamp in things. So we'll be going from here out in the opposite directions on both wings. That was my original plan to get done. Didn't quite get there. That said, still a productive week. A little bit every day helps you get through and finished before you know it. We have got things which really look like wings. Still a long way to go though. So catch you next week. Bye now. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the thumbs up. You can subscribe or even hit the little bell notification for future videos. Any comments would be appreciated, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Remember, go fly and feel the sky.